here we are at Oxide LE. Let's go ahead and introduce our lovely players. Here, spawning at the bottom left corner of the map. Playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. He's the blue Terran player. It is Cure. And spawning here at the top right corner of the map. He's the red Terran player playing for KaiZ Gaming. It is Innovation. So speaking, actually, let's hold that thought. There is a proxy Rax coming out here for Kier. Gonna go ahead and open up with some shenanigans. Let's see how he does. It may be just Reaper, a regular Reaper, or it might be a Tech Lab with Marauders. We shall see. But as he is executing this little cheese here, I want to say there was a little bit of chat about Zest in the live chat just a little bit before here. So Innovation currently in KaiZ Gaming. As you know, Zest used to be in KaiZ Gaming. Oh no, not KaiZ Gaming. Zest used to be on Razor Edge Gaming. Excuse me. Yeah, he was in Razor Edge Gaming as early as this February 2nd. So he did depart from Razor Edge Gaming on February 2nd, a few days ago, and has joined up with Kier's team in Dragon Phoenix Gaming. So he's going to be joining up with the likes of Kier, with Rogue and Dark. That is a pretty solid 4-man matchup. Not only because all of them are solid, really good competitive players, but you have one of each race, right? You have Protoss and Zest, you got Terran and Kier, and then you got Zerg and Rogue and Dark. So a really great solid 4-man lineup there. So they should, if they do decide to compete in any team events, I would say they have a pretty good shot. They would probably do pretty well. But in the meantime here, Kier not doing very well with his proxy, as there is already a bunker. Now let's see if Kier does kind of bypass his bunker down to the south side. I don't think it reaches far down below enough, but he's definitely going to have to move in with at least more than 2 Marauders if he decides to do that. Now the Reaper for Innovation will go ahead and try to find some damage across the map, but will be greeted here by this initial Hellion of Kier. So he is going to be a-okay here. And like I predicted, Kier can definitely just go ahead and just sidetrack and sidestep this bunker here and just ignore it. But that does mean that he is trapped here a little bit. It's going to go ahead and force Innovation to pull some SCVs, but with some nice micro focus fire, Kier should be able to handle these Marines. These Marines. But this Reaper will go ahead and join up with the fight and should clean up this Marauder. Now 4 SCVs going down. Was it worth it? I would say it was a pretty decent trade, I would say, for Kier. Yeah. I mean, Kier is ahead in the workers. He's not really behind or significantly behind in the tech path. The big thing is that Innovation does have his command center a lot quicker. So theoretically, he should be able to kind of make up those 4 lost SCVs pretty quickly, and won't be quite behind very soon. I would expect that. Yeah, Kier is gonna enjoy a economic. Oh, as I say that, he does throw down a 3rd CC. So while he does have a later 3rd CC, he does have a quicker. I mean, I'm sorry. Excuse me. He does have a later 2nd CC, but a quicker 3rd CC. All right. Banshee Tech out here for Innovation. Does he have cloak? Let me see here. Nope, no cloak. Not even researching on the production tab as well. So this is just going to be a very visible Banshee here. Does not have the Harry Potter invisibility cloak, unfortunately. But at the same time, Kier doesn't really have anything to deal with it in the main base. I mean, the bulk of his army is here at the main front. His Cyclone is there at the ramp, so that should at least be able to defend this Banshee rather quickly. But we'll lose a couple of SCVs in the process. So 3 SCVs going down there. Let's take a look at the income graph here. Yeah, as you can see, did favor Kier for a while, but does jump back up for innovation with that faster, or with that those mules there. Oh, what do we have here? We have ourselves some mech action happening. Oh man, I am quite happy to see this. We don't really see a lot of mech these days, not as commonly as, you know, a marine tank kind of composition. I've seen plenty of those games. But innovation gonna go on full on mech, throwing down those additional factories. Oh man, just a random marine there wandering around will meet its demise. Alright, in the meantime, Kier gonna go ahead and attempt a 2 medevac drop, and oh, unfortunately does get greeted here by this Raven. So he is gonna go ahead and either potentially abandon this drop or go to the other side. Looks like he will just abandon the drop idea. Now, funnily enough, I'm not sure if Innovation was paying attention at that point, so he might have gotten away with it if he continued with it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's even making... Oh, actually, you know what? He's making some Vikings. But usually when Terran players see that they're about to get dropped, you know, whether it's by medevacs or maybe a war prism, they will usually build a bunch of turrets onto the side to make sure that that side is clear of any potential drop. Alright, so far, not a lot of units lost here. As you can see, very, I mean, especially at the 8-minute mark, losing only 600 and 1,000 resources respectively. Oh, that was a little bit of a tongue twister there. But yeah, both players are just going to go ahead and just kind of sit back, play a bit patiently and passively. Not looking to engage, just want to go ahead and macro up, establish a dirt base, build up their army. Let's see here, what's the upgrade story? Looks like we've got +1/1 coming out of both players, relatively the same time. Looks like the +1/1 infantry will be finishing a little bit quicker, so there's going to be a little bit of a time period, very short time period, where Kier is going to go ahead and enjoy a upgrade lead. The problem is, can he find an opening with these tanks sieged up here for innovation, and also with the air advantage as well? He does have more Vikings compared to Kier, which he only has a Raven and medevacs in his army composition. So it's looking quite hard to find an opening here to take advantage of that +1/1 upgrade that he's is about to finish up soon. In the meantime, though, I do like what Kier is going for. Recognizing that he's playing against a mech, just a pure mech, one of the advantages of going against a pure mech is that you're able to kind of expand a little bit faster with the marine tank composition. Kind of basically get more command centers. Because really, you know, the part of mech is that the initial stage is you got to be kind of a bit more passive. You can harass with maybe a few howling run-bys, but usually, especially with the caliber of Kier, should be able to knock that down, not lose anything to those Hellions. But yeah, you're a bit more you're a little bit more passive to start the game when you're playing mech. So knowing this, knowing that there's not going to be an attack relatively soon from Innovation, Kira is going to go ahead and feel comfortable to just expand a little bit quicker compared to Innovation. And as you can see, Kira's still trying to find some opening, but with that sensor tower, and with all these siege tanks all sieged up into the left side, there's very, very little options here. Not a lot of avenues for him to kind of break through. Now there is a little bit here on the right side where the sensor towers isn't quite touching, but Kira only has 4 medevacs, so if he is going to go ahead and drop onto that side, and especially with the Viking count, he might have to be prepared to lose it. Now we do see a little bit of interference matrix coming down for both players here. Wasn't the prettiest engagement, but all in all, I would say that was pretty much a wash. Both players losing a couple of tanks here and there, but not too much. As you can see, more Marauders being added into this army of Kier. He's gonna have to find a moment where Innovation is unsieged and out and about in the middle of the map, where there's a wide open space where his bow army can kind of split off and get a good concave. But that's a big question if he can even find that the specific moment, that specific opportunity for him to kind of like a tiger, go on top and catch his prey in the moment of weakness. I find it a little bit hilarious that there is still that tech lab from earlier on in this game still alive. You would imagine that Innovation would just send some units to just kind of kill it, but nope. Just a very, very innocent tech lab there. He's going to go ahead and let it live for the time being, at the very least. Storm Rider 25 in the chat saying, "So a 10-minute no rush, please." Well, I guess the game opened up with a 10-second cheese there. But for the past 10 minutes, I would say not a lot of action. So your statement kind of a little bit true here and there, I would say. I mean, there hasn't really been a lot of losses, not a lot of engagement in this past 10 minutes or so. And oh boy, these Hellions does get a bypass. And there's absolutely no defense against these Hellions. These Hellions are going to just walk on by and kill a bunch of these SCVs. These poor SCVs gonna get flamed to death. Now, luckily for him, he still has a lot of command centers, a lot of orbitals to drop down those mules, but still, he's gonna be dropping down almost, I guess, 18 worker supply deficit now. Now, if Kier was playing mech, I would say it wouldn't be much of a hit. It wouldn't be as critical of a hit because mech play does heavily rely on gas instead of minerals, so you don't really have to rely on having too much SCVs, but still, you definitely don't want to be behind that much in the worker counts. But as you can see, all those command centers, he is going to go ahead and make up those SCVs relatively quickly. He's kind of slowly but surely climbing back in the worker count, almost tying up. And ladies and gentlemen, we might actually have ourselves not just a 10-minute no rush game, but maybe a 20-minute no rush game, and these guys are still kind of just biding their time, kind of casing out each other, just walking left and right. But it's really, really difficult to engage or find an opening at the very least with all these sensor towers. You can see there's like a huge line of sensor towers covering all of these lands and areas. It just makes it hard for any surprise attack. And it's really going to come down to engagement, I would say, like a head-to-head engagement. right, so size matter in the live chat asking, a mech usually has tanks and marauders, and Bao usually have more marines and medvacs, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're going pure mech, I would say that you're more reliant on tanks and Hellions, you know, that kind of composition. If you're going for the marine route, usually you start off with tank marine and then you kind of add in some marauders as the game goes on. But boy, Innovation has suddenly come up with a huge air fleet. I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and check the units tab. Does Kier has enough to deal with this? He has 22 of Vikings compared to the 17 of Innovation, but Innovation does have 3 battle cruisers, so it might be a tough one. Although the Marines can actually add in some firepower as well during the fight, but these Liberators are gonna go ahead and kind of zone out these Marines. Actually, not just zone out, but just completely clean them up. And Kier is forced back, especially with those that Dorito the Dorito missile, the anti-armor missile, on top of those Vikings. Those Vikings are gonna go down very, very quickly. Oh boy, not looking good for our blue Terran player. He is being forced back. The tank all sieged up here at the natural, making it very, very hard for all of these Marines to even join up into the fight. But with the faster reinforcement, Kier might be oh no, actually, you know what? Yeah, I think Kier might be able to just overtake the air advantage, the earlier air advantage of Innovation with that, I guess, the faster reinforcement point. So a little bit of a messy fight, but clearly Innovation, though, still has too much on the ground for Kier to compete with. There's still so much tanks left over. The battle cruiser is going to go ahead and once again get on top of the rest of the army, and I would say, yep, GG. Innovation will take a game 1 victory here with a nice air transition at the end. Not a lot of action throughout the mid game, but definitely unloaded there at the later stages. Innovation gonna go ahead and go into game number 2 with a 1-0 lead here. Alright, second map looks like it's going to be on Romanticide. I mean, you know, Valentine's is coming up, guys. So, if there was a map to play, it would definitely be on the Romanticide. Am I right? Am I right? Alright, game is loading here. So much heart being spammed into the live chat. Good place for a date, yeah. Definitely. I mean, there's no restaurants on this map, so you can't really have to go. You don't have a place to go out for a good dinner. There's no movie theaters as well, so can't even go to the movies or anything. Might want to just go for a walk, a stroll. I mean, that could happen on this map, right? But for a map that is called Romanticide, not a lot of romantic activities. I mean, you could set up a picnic of some sort, maybe. Who knows? But anyhow, here in the top left, as the blue Terran player playing for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it is Kier. And spawning here at the bottom right corner of the map, he's the red Terran player playing for KaiZ Gaming. It is Innovation. Alright, Size Matter saying, I always bring my girlfriend, the Mrs. Adept, to Romanticide. Oh, that is so sweet. I hope you and Mrs. Adept have a fun time on Romanticide. Destin One saying, go pick crystals. Yeah, that could be definitely an activity that you can do on the date, right? Go hunt for crystals. I mean, some people might go on the hike Some people might take their day on rock climbing or something, but you know what? On this map, you can definitely go out and explore crystals. Kind of reminds me of like SpongeBob SquarePants, where they would, him and Patrick would go jellyfish hunting. So I guess you could go for some crystal hunting yourself, and you know what? Maybe cash them in, earn some extra money for both you and your date. Alright, both players gonna go ahead and hunt around for some proxies with their initial Reaper. Just make sure that there is no proxies here in the outskirts of their bases. Just being a little bit cautious. Destin saying it feels like, yeah, put a lot of thought into this. Maybe. I mean, you know, with Valentine coming up, you gotta plan these dates out, right, ahead of time. Just gonna want to make sure that you got all the things in place, nothing goes wrong. But what is gonna go wrong is potentially a Reaper kill if Innovation overextends there, almost just barely getting away with a low red life on that Reaper. Now, of course, the potential winner of this match, Innovation, can clinch the series if he does win this game and face off with Trap in the winners versus winners, or Kier can possibly tie this game up, send it to a dirt and decisive game. We'll see how these players approach this game. At the very least, there is no early CC, dirt CC coming out of both players like last time around. We see a 1-1 opening here coming out of Kier. Pretty much the same as well here for Innovation. Both players going for those Banshees. Currently no cloak being researched though. So yeah, this is going to be a no cloak Banshee harass. Now, hopefully this doesn't turn out to be one of those, the same game last time where there's like a 10-15 minute like a dull period where both players are not doing really too much. I mean, sometimes you want to play passively, of course, but as a viewer, as a caster, when there's nothing really going on, it makes the job a little bit more difficult. I mean, of course, you can take the time to point out all the lovely aspect and the aesthetic look of the map, but at certain points there's gotta be some action, right? Alright, looks like Kier is gonna take the very long pathway for the Banshee. Gonna go all the way around. Then you know what, might actually work out because it does brings Innovation army out here in the middle. It's not gonna be suspecting a Banshee to come in here at, let's say, the 7 to 10 minute mark. That's when I'm guessing the Banshee will go and dive on in, but yeah, still not a lot of engagement happening for both players. Still kind of feeling out and trying to build up and macro up. Now, what happened to that Banshee? Okay, this Banshee finally comes in here. We'll bypass the natural and go right into the main base, and it looks like Innovation does not scout this. Luckily for him, he does have those two Vikings that just pops out right in time. Now, imagine if these Vikings didn't pop out, you would have lost a lot more than 4 workers. So kind of got a little bit lucky there. However, the main story is this incoming attack. I don't see Innovation being able to break this, especially with those 2 Ravens at the back. Oh, actually, you know what? This Banshee does get a little bit of pot shots, but SCVs will be sent to repair that tank right away. If anything, this is going to be quite a slow push. Now, the air advantage for innovation, he does have, let's see, how many Vikings? 8 Vikings compared to the 2 of Kier. So, Kier is going to have to rely on the Cyclone to kind of push away these Vikings. Oh, innovation getting a little bit forward there with those tanks. We'll lose them. And now I definitely don't see innovation being able to walk on up. Although you still got that air advantage, you're still building up those Vikings. Yeah, so far not making any headway. And oh, here it's gonna go ahead and try to attack on the backside with these Vikings, but he just has way too much on the ground. Just completely overwhelms innovation there, and that is exactly what Kier was looking for. And I gotta say, innovation kind of overstayed his welcome there a little bit. I mean, when he initially walked up there and noticed all those tanks siege up, and I mean, he gotta realize that he wasn't gonna be able to break that anytime soon. He should have kind of retreated back home, I would say. Unfortunately, he just kind of sat there and just completely loses all his army. And now you can see a dirty army supply lead for Kier. I just don't see this dirt base standing very soon. I think if Kier commits to this, which it looks like he's being overly cautious. I mean, if he kind of splits his army, I think he could have just stemmed and get on top of those tanks, but he might have just lost his opportunity yeah, I think he might be losing his opportunity. More tanks and more reinforcements come here and being rallied to this dirt base, so a little bit of a missed opportunity. Now, Kier can definitely, with these 2 medevacs, fly in here onto the bottom side. There's actually no vision, no turrets or sensor tower. Oh, actually, you know what? That sensor tower just finished, though. Unfortunately for Kier, just lost another opportunity to get some damage done. But you know what? He doesn't quite need to, put on the hurt. I mean, he is ahead. He does get the 1-1 upgrade lead. He is getting a quicker 4th base. So as long as he kind of continues to just build on up, make sure he probably doesn't want to go for a 200 versus 200 army engagement. I think he wants to engage before that happens. Maybe contain innovation so that his 4th base is very delayed. And maybe engage once that 4th base is freshly established. Alright, gonna have ourselves a little bit of a standstill here at the dirt base. Problem is that Kier doesn't have the Viking count to do the slow push, but he does have a little second group of army here at the top. So, if innovation, groups all his army down to the south side, Kier might be able to attack onto the front, to the top side. But smartly, innovation is going to go ahead and section off some of his army. Oh, Scan does catches that, and you see all the Vikings here gonna be parked onto the right side. This could get a little bit ugly. I don't think Kier was aware that his medevacs were scanned. He is still continuing with the drop. He feels like it was not scouted out, and oh boy, this is gonna at least take out 1 medevac down. Oh man, Kier had this game. He had the advantage, and slowly but surely I feel like it's slipping out of his fingers. He's kind of giving innovation more breathing room, and even though Kier is still ahead in the overall supply, he's kind of giving innovation some chance. Now, in TVT, even if you're down by 10 or 20 supply, it's okay still. I think it really comes down to the engagement, because during those engagement can get really volatile, and those supply swings goes one way drastically a lot of the times. So being down by 10 or 20 supply, like if you can get a really good engagement, that kind of evens it out. So it's really going to come down to their micro and how they engage, of course. So we do see, of course, Kier trying to still contain innovation down here on the south side, but that fourth base has been established, and so far there's really nothing Kier can do to break that. Kier is hunting down for those Vikings, but those Vikings will go ahead and get out safely. All right, let's take a look at the income graph. Very roller coaster type of graph, as you can see, bouncing back and forth. Actually, I'm curious to see the army size. Wow. Yeah, as you can see, Kier has been leading in the army for quite some time, but all of a sudden, pretty even army. As you can see, basically the tied in the army supply at 118 to 117. They're tied in the upgrade count. So really it's still anyone's game, I would say. I mean, actually we might have another engagement here. Just too much on the ground there for innovation will scare Kier back. What does he have here on the right side? He's gonna have to send some of these tanks. Oh my god, actually a lot of his army that is down here in the south side. A little bit out of position. Okay, there we go. There we go. Gotta siege up those tanks. And once again, we're gonna have ourselves a wall of sensor towers. Oh, looks like innovation is gonna go ahead and stem up. Oh, a little bit of a late siege up there. Okay, there we go. A little bit of some nice pot shots. All right, interference matrix. We'll go ahead on down to those two tanks onto the side. We'll be able to allow innovation to pick them off. But there are still some tanks here onto the top side. Does get in siege. Innovation does seize this. Does he smell blood in the water? With the sensor tower, though, Kier is very aware of the army movement of innovation. And boy, those Viking count. Let me see here. How many Vikings? All right, 11 Vikings to 7 Vikings of Kier. So not too big of a disparity. All right, some anti-armor missile will be thrown down here on top of Kier's Vikings. This is going to allow innovation to kind of inch a little bit forward here. But keep in mind, there is a huge group of Marines down to the south side. All right, and here we go. Innovation just on the bird's eye views should have enough to break this. Oh yeah, definitely. There is so much tank still left over. But Kier, again, this is not all his army. He is going to have to make do with these medevacs and Marines. And only one medevac one turret to contend against this. He is going to drop on top of all the production buildings. That is huge because Kier, he still has his production buildings up and running and still producing. So even though he lost that 11 o'clock base, I mean, if Kier can kind of clean up the majority of these barracks, I think he should be okay. The problem is all these tanks and marines aren't coming back to fortify onto this main base. Some siege tanks sieged up between the buildings as well. So, and oh no, all these medevacs get sniped out. So there is no escape for these marines. These marines are gonna have to savior all the damage that they have done. And so far, all in all, let's see here. Yeah, I would say Innovation's still in a pretty decent spot. He did lose a couple of buildings, but I mean, he still has a good decent amount of barracks, a good decent amount of factories still producing as well. So I mean, it could have definitely slowed down his army production, but was able to finally clean it up and reestablish those army production. And he still has more workers. He still does have more army as well. Yeah, I would say definitely an advantage here for Innovation. Kier is going to have to make some magic happen with these Marines. Now, granted, these Marines have no medevacs to escort them. So, if he is going to stem there, he's basically going to have to commit suicide. He thinks twice about it and will go ahead and retreat for the time being. Oh, but Innovation does scans it and sees them out in the open. And really, if Innovation just siege up this positioning, what does Kier has to contend with this? Yeah, I don't see this fourth base standing anytime soon. I mean, he can repair it for the time being, but that's so much tanks, and you can't really engage it. Basically, the majority of his army here is kind of walking towards the right side. A little bit of maneuvering by both players, kind of scanning and trying to figure out where each of their opponent's army is. Yeah, all those scans being thrown down. Now, the army right now, the army count is actually is basically even at this point. So, I mean, if Kier can, oh my god, look at all those interference matrices. That was extremely huge. A bunch of the, I guess the reinforcements were onto the right side. That left those tanks so vulnerable. Oh man, that was a game changer. All those ravens, all those stacked up energy. That was a turning point Kier needed. And now, he's the one that's got the advantage. He's the one that's got the worker lead. What a back and forth game. So many swings here and there. And that's TVT for you guys. Sometimes in TVT, chaotic swings, chaotic engagements happens. So far, pretty much the map has been split in half. There are 2 more open bases still left to be retaken or taken. The one right here, and then of course the one in the south side. Oh, let me go ahead and put up the production tab once again. We do see Innovation gonna slowly transition into some BCs as well. Actually, he stopped the BC production at 2 only. Interestingly enough. Yeah, it's looking very much like a really macro late game kind of TBT game we're about to have. Innovation gonna go ahead and take a crack at this base. We'll crush it pretty easily. But Kier once again throwing down all those interference matrices, just rendering all those tanks is absolutely useless. The timer is about to run out though. Can he clear up all these tanks? Nope, there's still 4 tanks here in the back. Kier is gonna have to retreat for the time being. And it is a messy Viking war. The anti-armor missile does a favor Innovation there. Will allow him to push back all these Vikings, especially with that battle cruiser. And now the battle cruiser is on top of all these vulnerable tanks. Oh boy, Innovation manages to crush that army, and now potentially crushes the bottom base. Here it's gonna go ahead and stim up here, and we'll actually hold this. But at what cost, right? 20 workers going down by Kier, a base as well. Now they both have a lot of command centers, so losing a base is not very detrimental, but losing 20 workers is. But all in all, still pretty even in the worker count. The big problem is that the army of innovation is getting stronger and stronger with those battle cruisers, with those Vikings. And look at Kier. He's basically lost the majority of those ravens. Currently, he only has 3 ravens. Before, he had like a bunch of them with a bunch of energy to interference matrix those tanks. So right now, he is gonna be pretty even in the raven count. He's not gonna have that same advantage as he did a minute or two ago. Alright, all those Armada cannons going down. Clears up some of these tanks as well. Alright, it seems like the last remaining base will be taken here by innovation. He's going to have an advantage, a base advantage, because one of those corner bases actually belongs to Kier, but innovation did take it. Alright, innovation is slowly inching forward. Looks like Kier is going to go ahead and evacuate this base. He just doesn't have quite the amount of army to defend against this, and I would say he's doing the exact thing that I would recommend, is going for a base trade. I mean, if you can't fight a head-to-head battle, like, why not just go ahead and bypass it, go for a base trade, at least give yourself a semblance of chance to somehow win this game, because if you go for a head-to-head fight, that's pretty much an automatic loss, as his innovation army is looking much stronger. This is going to go ahead and pull innovation back at home, buying Kier a bit of time. And Sinoka Death in the live chat saying, what a TBT, by the way. And absolutely, what a TBT here. A 25-minute game. Although, I mean, I would definitely say right now this is a kind of a classic game where one player is way ahead in the workers, and then the other player is way ahead in the army supply. So I feel like it could still be, as crazy as it sounds, I still feel like it could be anyone's game. Although that battle cruiser count is getting really high, I'm getting a little afraid here for Kier. Although he does have a good group of Vikings, as I say that. And if he can kind of engage those battle cruisers away from those tanks, those Marines can actually be the game changer, because those Marines have so much firepower against the battle cruisers that might be a tipping point. That might be the game changer, the momentum swinger that Kier is looking for. Oh my god, repair that. Okay, there we go. Alright, looks like innovation will go ahead and scout this bottom base here. We'll shut that down. There's not a lot of economy here for Kier, because a lot of his bases has been kind of ravaged. And as you can see, that's kind of reflected into the bank here. Innovation has a little bit of a bank, not a monster bank. He has got 3k in the bank in minerals, but and 2.5 in the gas. So not a crazy bank, but at least it's a decent little bank. Kira, on the other hand, absolutely broke. He does not have a bank at all. And so this is his army. If he loses this, it's pretty much over. And nice interference matrix going down here on those tanks, but all the backup in those Vikings and the battle cruisers does protect those tanks. And GG Innovation will take a game number 2 and advance to the winners match.